Ex-Home Depot CEO rips woke companies for prioritizing diversity and social policies, Bernie Marcus. Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus joined Cavuto Live to weigh in on the historic collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, arguing that the U.S. economy doesn't look good. The U.S. Air Force this month launched an effort to hire a handful of senior-level diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) managers and is hoping to place these officials in posts across the country, from Washington, D.C., to Alaska. Each post pays at least $82,000 per year, and the top position at the Pentagon could pay more than $180,000 per year. The Air Force declined to respond to questions for Fox News Digital about how many senior-level DEI officials work for the Air Force or how many more positions it's looking to fill this year. But the Air Force has put out calls to hire 4 senior DEI officials since March 3. The Air Force is looking for a Supervisory Diversity, Equity, Inclusion and Accessibility Officer for Air Force Headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, which will pay anywhere from $155,700 to $183,500 per year. The person who fills this position will serve as a first-level supervisor who will direct employees assigned to the Air Force's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Diversity, equity, inclusion workers fret companies aren't hiring them anymore. Insane, pathetic. The U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds perform a flyover prior to the NASCAR Cup Series 65th Annual Daytona 500 at Daytona International Speedway February 19, 2023, in Daytona Beach, FLA. The goal of the managerial slot is to ensure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility education and training, and strategic outreach and engagement complies with legal and regulatory requirements and meets customer needs. It also involves collecting statistics to deliver world-class diversity, equity, inclusion and accessibility efforts for airmen and their families. The Air Force is also looking for a diversity and inclusion manager to work at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. That job, which pays between $94,199 to $122,459 per year, is to serve as Joint Base Installation Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Dodd scorched for labeling diversity trainings a strategic imperative of the agency. China's laughing at us. Among other tasks, this manager will work to implement the strategic vision for diversity and inclusion in the branch through educational courses on how to affect a culture of diversity and inclusion within the Department of Defense. In Alaska, the Air Force is looking for another diversity and inclusion manager for Elmendorf Air Force Base. That manager, who will make anywhere from $93,367 to $121,378 per year, will be the Chief DEIA Officer who will perform a range of functions to facilitate and support the achievement of the installation/wing diversity and inclusion mission. The Air Force, led by Seconds Frank Kendall III, is looking to hire a handful of senior-level DEI officials to be posted across the country. That includes developing diversity and inclusion goals and objectives and implementing educational programs to enhance a culture of diversity and inclusion within the AF. Finally, the Air Force is looking for a diversity and inclusion coordinator at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. The successful candidate will make between $82,830 and $107,680 per year to be the principal advisor on DEI issues at the base. University of Houston scraps diversity, equity, and inclusion statements from hiring practices. The Air Force jobs are just some of the DEI-related positions the federal government has been looking to fill. In March alone, more than a dozen of these jobs have been posted on usajob.gov. For example, the Commerce Department's National Institute of Standards and Technology is looking to hire a Supervisory Director of Diversity and Inclusion, starting at $155,000. The department's International Trade Administration will pay $132,000 or more for a diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and employee engagement officer. Job postings for the Air Force say senior officials will be asked to ensure the service branch enhances the culture and diversity of the Air Force. The Department of Health and Human Services is looking for a diversity, equity, and inclusion analyst who will start at $112,000. The White House Office of Management and Budget is looking to hire a human capital specialist for DEIA issues starting at $132,000. The U.S. Mint's Office of Equity and Inclusion is searching for an employee experience coordinator, a job that pays at least $112,000. And the Department of Agriculture is searching for a data management support specialist who will provide data analysis and expertise for the Office of the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. That job also pays at least $112,000.